First, let me introduce myself. My name is Hendrik Koch. I'm working for the city-state of Bremen. It's northwestern part of Germany for the Ministry of the Environment, Urban Affairs and Transportation. I'm part of the working group, and we are the coordination team of the eLIPTIC project together with Ruprecht Consult. The colleague Dr. Backhaus is also here in the room. So yeah, that's mandatory. So we are part of the Civitas 2020 program of the European Commission. We are part of Horizon 2020, the research program. In eLIPTIC, we mainly got funding for research. So there are no big investments in it. The partners involved into the project are interested into research. How is it functioning? Is there a business case somewhere which they can't find? Overall, we have 33 partners inside the project from 8 countries. We started last year in June, and the project will run for 36 months. So we are coordinator, and the budget is roughly 6 million euros. So the partners, you see here the so-called use cases that are our partners, cities, mainly the public transport operators, TfL in London, STIP from Brussels, Bremen, Oberhausen, Eberswalde, Leipzig, the German partners, Gdynia, you will also hear some experience from Gdynia right after Mark, and Szeged, Barcelona, Lanciano, and Warsaw are the use cases. Then we have more or less each use case, each public transport operator has a local scientific support partner, and the main work of the research being undertaken is we got around 100 KPIs, key performance indicators. So the partners are gathering all the data. Then the University of Roma, Maria Vittoria as a representative from that is also here. They are doing the main work on the research, on how are the different vehicles performing. And then we have another research partner, the University of Aachen, analyzing are there business cases behind it. So putting all the different values into a fancy kind of modeling tool and see what the outcome is. Then we have, of course, low CVP, Astra, VDV, and the UITP, the World Group for Public Transport Operation, also represented here. So thank you again to Low CVP for organizing this national workshop in the context of the eLIPTIC project as a dissemination event. And eLIPTIC is not only about electric buses, which is building our so-called Pillar A, where we are talking about safe integration into existing infrastructure. So we take a look at, can we make use of tram infrastructure or of metro infrastructure, the existing power grid networks? Does it make sense? What influence it might have if you charge there? Then our so-called Pillar B is, can we somehow give the existing networks more, or is there a way to have it more efficient? That could be a flywheel. This could be a reversible substation, which you might hear something more about. And then we have what is also very interesting for us, as we are doing a lot of car club activities, at least in Bremen. The question, if you're going electric for car clubs, where do you charge? How do you charge? What power are you going to use? And are there possibilities, opportunities to use also the existing infrastructure? So, and just to give you some examples, this is from Bremen. This is the 18-meter bus we are now investigating. It has arrived last month and will start operation hopefully in December with passengers on a regular route. We also got 12-meter buses. And the expectations are quite high because Sileo is promising at least 300 kilometers of driving range. And our public transport operator in Bremen is looking forward to depot charging and not on route charging. So the question of reliability, battery capacity, and we might not see it within the 3 years of project running time, but of course, if you're using a high SOC, you might see a shorter living time of the batteries. So far we had below 1 kilowatt hour per kilometer pure drivetrain consumption. Then taking a look at our other German partner in Oberhausen, where they close to directly went to the overhead wires of the tram. So of course they have installed a charger as well. And they are using Solaris 12-meter buses mainly for this. They are charging at one tram stop and one end stop of the bus and tram route. So it's working. So far I can tell you it's working. It has some impacts on the reliability of the voltage levels if at the same time a tram passes by. So, on Tuesday we learned from our partners from Leipzig that for their case, for example, it doesn't make sense because the influence is too strong. So you really have to get to know your network properly and see what is feasible. Then we have not only Gdynia but also in Eberswalde trolley cities within the project, and they are looking into extension of the coverage of their trolley network by using trolley electric battery hybrid trolleys to go without the wire. And so there's the question, can they make use of the existing already bought buses with some limited battery capacity? What routes can make sense? Can we rely on the data we got from the manufacturers? Because typically you buy a bus with a certain amount of driving wireless capacity, and if you want to introduce new routes which might be longer, does it still fit into the capacity of the battery or not? So there needs to be quite some research effort made. And this is a nice group picture of the eLIPTIC core group meeting last November in Eberswalde. Yeah, and there are still plans for tests of automated wiring and dewiring without the small roofs you might know. So the question is, can you get more flexibility if you have a 100% automated system for the wiring? Then not going into too much detail because we have our speaker from Gdynia here as well. They are trying the same things. From Pillar B, the question of the reversible substation is being looked more further into. And yesterday during our user forum of the eLIPTIC project, we learned that the question is, yes, in Brussels it functions. They got energy recuperation and efficiency of between 5 to 10%. But the question is, why aren't more cities adopting this? So there, of course, it needs to be adapted to your power network, to your grid, but there seems to be also a lack of understanding or of knowledge and exchange. So we might be looking more further into this. And for Pillar C in eLIPTIC, the multimodal concept, here is a picture taken from the Bremen use case of our pure electric car club. This is in front of our public transport headquarters. The question is, does it make sense to go to the existing network grid? Do we need such high powers? Is it too expensive? Does it make sense? Are the locations the right ones you want to put the car club points to? So there are some feasibility studies undertaken for Bremen and other cities, and for London we will be seeing not only a feasibility study, but at the moment it should be a demonstration also for using the metro grid network charging vehicles other than buses. Yes. And coming to an end, you might be, or you were wondering, why are you sitting on the coasters? Will there be free beer afterwards? Or Maybe yes, I don't know. But this is one of our policy recommendation and dissemination activities, because we said we compare the effects of electrifying passenger cars and buses or public transport systems. So we compared the usage, engine size, fuel consumption on a yearly basis, took a look at the local pollutants on the emission level side, looked at the fuel consumption a typical passenger car has over a year and a typical 18-meter bus has, diesel bus has, and compared also the CO2 emissions, which does not play a big role in eLIPTIC, I must say. But of course, the eLIPTIC activities, like heard, can have an effect on the CO2, so climate protection, and also on air pollution or air quality issues. So, and after all, inside our magic eLIPTIC calculator, we say the total impact equals approximately to 100. So that's why we said the investment for an electric bus is 100 times more efficient than the investment into an electric car. Of course, you all know these pictures, so it's also a question of space inside the cities, especially looking at London. You can't put more cars on the street, and although the idea of full autonomous pods or vehicles is now very hyped at the moment, it's a momentum. We see the public transport, if autonomous public transport should do it, and not individual vehicles. So after all, the question is, if we find it reasonable and it makes sense to us to invest better in public transport than in individual cars from a global economic perspective, is there also the same financial support? And we identified it's not even in the white paper on transport. It says nothing about it for transport. There are no targets in it yet. So, and we took a look at the different funding schemes. Don't worry, this is data from 2015. If it has changed in the meantime, I'm not so sure. It might be, but we looked last year when we described the Factor 100 process. We said, okay, what are the different fundings for individual passenger cars you get in the different countries? And overall, we said, okay, putting the Factor 100 into this calculation, it would come out of 500,000 euros per bus. Of course, we are not asking for 500,000 euros per bus. This would give a wrong impression to the manufacturers, because I guess the prices won't get lower on a short time then. But this is just to show what different effects you have if you invest into cars and public transport systems. So that's it.